This video is about combining like terms, and it follows with independent practice sheets. So we're going to define these four words. The first word is term. A term could be one of three things. It could be a number, a variable, or the product of a number and variable. So for example, a term that would be a number would be something like 6. A term that could be a variable would be something like x. And a term that could be the product of a number and a variable might be something like 4x or 7xy. The next word is like terms. Like terms are terms with the same variable or no variable. So for example, 2x and 7x are like terms. Here's another example. 3y and 5y are like terms. They have the exact same variable. The next word that we're going to define is actually two words that mean the same thing. When we're talking about combining like terms or simplifying expressions like this, that just means you have to add the like terms. And we'll do some examples of that down below in a minute. And then the next term, subtracting and negative, isn't really something that we're going to define, but kind of explains what you do when you see subtracting or negative signs. So first of all, a subtraction and a negative sign mean the same thing. So when you see a subtraction sign, you're going to change all minus signs to adding the opposite. And we'll do some examples of that down below as well. Okay, number 2, or part 2, it says how many terms are in each expression. So we are going back to this first definition. We're looking for numbers, variables, or products of numbers and variables, and we're just going to circle them. So negative 3x is a term, 2y is a term, 4x squared is all one term, 7x, negative 8y, and 2. So these are all the terms. So if we count them, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. You'll notice that they're separated by addition symbols. All right, number 2. Let's circle. So 10y minus 8b plus negative 4a plus 6b. So there are 4 terms in that example. The third one, 2m is a term, 11m is a term, and 9 is a term. So there are 3 terms in that one. And then in the last one, there are quite a few. So 5x squared, 7x, 12, negative 6, 3x squared, 8, and negative x. So there are 7 terms in that example. All right, number 3, this is where we are going to simplify by combining like terms. So that means we're just going to add together the things that have the same terms. So again, I'm going to circle the like terms, and then we can combine them. So negative 6k and 7k are like terms. So we're basically going to add together negative 6 plus 7, which is 1, and then you put the k after it. So 1k or just k. This really means multiplication, so 1 times k is another way to say just k. The next one, 12r, does not have a like term. And then I see some minus signs. So whenever you see a minus sign, you can change it to adding the opposite. So I'm going to do that for both those numbers. Now I know they're negative. So now I have negative 8 plus negative 12. So 12r is by itself. And then negative 8 plus negative 12 is negative 20. So you could write it like that, or you could say 12r minus 20, which is more simplified. The next one, n and 9n are like terms, and then I see 2 minus signs. So I'm going to change it to plus negative 10 and plus negative 3. So n, if there's no number in front of the n, we can put a 1 there because 1 times any number is still that number. So that really means 1n. So 1n plus 9n is 10n. And then negative 10 plus negative 3 is negative 13. So you could write it like that, or you could say 10n minus 13. Next one, negative 4x minus 10. These are not like terms. So you actually cannot simplify that. So you would just write it the way that it was given to you, negative 4x minus 10. Next one, I see a minus sign, so I'm going to change that to adding the opposite right away. So now I have negative 2x plus negative 6x. Those are the like terms, so that would be negative 8x. And then 11 doesn't have a like term, so I would just put plus 11 after that. Next one, I see some minus signs, so plus negative 9 plus negative 5, and in front of the first n here I can put a 1. So my like terms would be 1n and negative 5n, which makes negative 4n, and then 4 plus negative 9 is negative 5. So plus negative 5, or you could write it as negative 4n minus 5. Next one, I'm going to change the minus sign to adding a negative right away. So here's an example of where you have something squared, like you have a variable and then you have that variable squared. Those are two completely different terms, okay? So 5r plus negative 5r are like terms together, and then 12r squared and 3r squared are like terms together, but they're separate from just the r by itself. So 12r squared plus 3r squared is 15r squared. You're not actually squaring anything, okay? It just means that there are two r's there. And then 5r plus negative 5r is 0, so you don't need to write plus 0. 15r squared is your answer. Next one, negative 5m, 8m squared, and 6. None of those are like terms, so I'm just going to write the answer the way it was given. That cannot be simplified anymore. And then the last one, I'm going to change all the minus signs to adding the opposite first. So plus negative 7 and plus negative 6. Okay, so my like terms would be 2x plus negative 7x, which is negative 5x. Then I have 8y plus negative 6y, which is 2y. And then the 10 doesn't have a like term, so it goes by itself at the end.